All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Before you head off to Scandinavia, we wanted to reach out to answer some questions that you may have about what to pack, some of the currency issues, where to meet your tour director, that sort of thing. So, first, I'll go over just some general information. I'll answer some of the questions that were submitted on the registration forms. And then at the end of the presentation, like I said, I'll open it up for any additional questions that you may have. My name is Amanda Hancock, and if you have any questions that I don't answer for you today, please feel free to contact us by phone or email. I also invite you to visit our website as you'll find a variety of information about traveling in Scandinavia and beyond. And I know some of you had questions specific to your escorted tour, and I may not answer those online today, but we'll be sure to answer those via email after the webinar. So, a couple of weeks before you depart for your trip to Scandinavia, you can expect to receive a packet of information from our office. You can expect one packet of information per couple. In the packet, you will find the following information: a departure letter with some basic information pertaining to your specific tour, a final tour itinerary, a flight itinerary, luggage tags, contact information for the hotels you'll be staying at while on tour, airport information, and any additional information that might pertain to your particular tour. Now, some documents are more important than others. For instance, please double check to make sure that your passport book is valid for at least 3 to 6 months after your return date and that you have a copy or two of your passport. Be sure to pack your passport and a copy in your carry-on. And you may want to leave a copy of your passport with a family member or friend, which can be sent to the U.S. Embassy in case your passport is lost or stolen while overseas. Please take a few moments to ensure that the name listed on your airline ticket matches your passport name, and this includes your first, middle, and last name. You may also want to keep a copy of your airline receipt to ensure that the airlines accrue your miles and that they're accredited to your account. And finally, if you've booked any independent services with us, say a pre or post tour stay, please review your documents before departing the US and let us know immediately if you notice any errors or if you have any questions. Please note that the vouchers will have emergency contact numbers in case you need assistance while traveling. And finally, please be sure to note any special instructions on your vouchers. For instance, some train vouchers may need to be exchanged for an actual ticket before you board the train. Now, on the land portion of your tour, we allow one suitcase and one handbag per person, such as a tote or a backpack. Luggage handling at hotels is provided for one suitcase, thus, your luggage will be delivered and picked up at your room at the beginning and end of your stay. We do provide a luggage tag per person, so please put those tags on your large suitcase to make it easier for the luggage handling at the hotel. You may also want to put a label with your name, address, and phone number inside your luggage in case your tag becomes separated. Now, most airlines do allow one free piece of checked luggage on international flights. If you have a domestic ticket booked in conjunction with your international flight, the airlines may charge a baggage fee, so you'll want to check with your airline before departing to see if any fees apply. And typically, your luggage can weigh up to 50 pounds, and the dimensions cannot exceed 62 inches. And this is length plus width plus height. A large standard roller bag is what we recommend using for your trip. And because luggage fees and restrictions vary from airline to airline, please contact your airline directly for more information. And so here I've just listed some of the main airlines that we use for our escorted tours. So you can refer back to this a little later in case you have questions. Now, inside your suitcase, here are a few things we recommend bringing. First, casual clothing. It's appropriate for all of our tours. And for included dinners, you may wish to bring something slightly dressier, such as slacks and a nice shirt or a blouse. As Scandinavians do tend to dress up a bit for dinner, but that said, it's completely optional. Layers are key. Can change throughout the day, especially as we move between regions and elevations, so having flexible clothing will keep you comfortable. And good walking shoes are a must. Many areas we visit have cobblestone streets, uneven terrain, or light hiking opportunities, so this is really not the place for heels and flip-flops. A raincoat is also highly recommended, ideally one with a removable lining. A rain poncho is also a good option, especially for quick changes in weather. A light jacket or coat will come in handy for morning and evenings, even in the summer months. You may also want to bring a swimsuit if you'd like to take advantage of any of the hotel pools, spas, or even saunas. And finally, leave your valuables at home. If it's something that would cause an emotional or financial stress if lost, it's best not to bring it. A couple of additional tips. In case your luggage is delayed, pack a change of clothing and any essentials in your carry-on. And if you're traveling with someone, consider splitting a few items between your two suitcases just in case one bag is delayed. And finally, if you're bringing or if you're planning to visit family or friends while in Scandinavia, it's always nice to bring a small gift, especially if they're hosting you. Some ideas include items unique to your hometown or state, such as books, calendars, or clothing, college or professional sports gear, American themed items such as flags and decor, local specialties or small gifts that reflect your region. And then for kids, clothing, candy, puzzles, or character themed items. Some other items you may want to pack include snacks and a refillable water bottle, washcloths. A lot of hotels in Scandinavia don't have washcloths, so if that's something that you like to have on hand to wash your face at the end of the day or something like that, you might want to pack a few in your suitcase. Tissues, sewing kit or safety pins, medications, and this includes prescription and over the counter, band aids, and a first aid kit. And just a quick side note on the medications, allergy and cold medications may not have the same ingredients or strength as what you would find here in the US, so you may want to bring some along with you. Converter or an adapter, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. Sunscreen and sunglasses, extra eyeglasses or a repair kit or extra contacts and solution, maps and travel information, spot removers such as a Tide stick or wipes, inflatable pillow and an eye mask, umbrella or poncho, a journal to record your favorite memories, a small day pack for sweaters, camera, snacks, and water, and then resealable plastic bags. And those come in handy for lots of different things. All right. So the climate in Scandinavia is very similar to that in the northeastern US, though rarely as hot in the summer or as cold in the winter. Average daytime temperatures in Fahrenheit for June, July, and August range from the 50s to 70s, depending upon your area of travel. Now, these are just average temperatures, so it's always a good idea to check the weather forecast before you depart the US so that you can pack accordingly in case there's warmer weather. The last couple of years, the average temperatures have actually been warmer on during the summer months, so you might get away with maybe wearing a sundress or short sleeve shirts, things like that. Also, you can check for predicted rainfall and that sort of thing, so you can prepare accordingly. Now for money. So Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland each have their own currency known as the kroner. And in Finland, they use euro. The currency of the five countries are not interchangeable. So, but the good news is for you, you don't really need to worry too much about exchanging money ahead of time. The easiest place really to exchange your money is at your arrival airport, and your tour director can assist with locating an exchange desk or an ATM. Credit cards are widely accepted almost everywhere, and I really do mean everywhere. Even for something small like a cup of coffee or a snack, you can use your credit card. Before you leave, I do recommend giving your credit card company a quick call. Just let them know that you'll be traveling internationally so your card doesn't get flagged for unusual activity. And it's also a good time to ask if they charge any foreign transaction fees so there's no surprises on your statement later. And as a backup, it's always a good idea to bring a second card just in case. And if you'd like to look at current exchange rates, you can check out awanda.com. And if you're out shopping, I've included just a quick reference here so you can easily figure out how much something would be in US dollars. So something listed in kroner, you would divide by 9, and then in euro, multiply by 1.2 to kind of get the equivalent US dollar amount. Now, if you're interested in staying connected while traveling, you may wish to contact your service provider for your cell phone. This would be like Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. You can see what international plans they offer, and many companies now have simple daily or monthly travel plans. Otherwise, when you're connected to the internet, you can use various apps such as WhatsApp, FaceTime, etc., to stay in touch with your family and friends back home. And speaking of the internet, Wi Fi is readily available at hotels and may also be available on your bus. And if you plan to set off on your own, you may wish to download any maps or important information before you disconnect from the internet. Now, we're going to talk just a little bit about converters or adapters. If you have any further questions after the fact, just let us know. We can help you kind of figure out what would be the best option for you to bring. But since North America devices operate on 110, 125 volt, many countries use 220 and 240. So you may need a voltage converter to safely use your electronics in Scandinavia. The label on your device will help determine if a voltage converter is necessary. It's often in very small print, so you may have to look closely. If your device is dual voltage, then really all you need is the adapter, and that's just what changes the plug. It's this, I put a picture down here to kind of give you an idea. It's just a two round prong plug, and then this is where you would plug your device in, is here in the back. Um, they usually go for about $3 to $5. And actually, both of these things can be found, in the big box stores like Target and Walmart and online, like Amazon. So most hotels will have hair dryers in the room, so you don't have to worry about that. And a lot of newer devices, especially tablets and cell phones, are already dual voltage. So you probably will be okay with just an adapter. But if you are unsure, the best place to look is on your device. Sometimes it might be on the box, sometimes it's on the plug, sometimes it's on the device. Sometimes you just have to look really closely, so it might be hard to find. But as long as it's dual voltage, all you need is the adapter. But if you're not sure, the best thing to do is just to get a converter, and that way you don't have to worry about it. So, if you're planning to travel to Minneapolis for your departing flight, you may be interested in our Park and Fly special in conjunction with the DoubleTree by Hilton. The rates start at $139 for a king or two double bedroom. It also includes 10 free days of parking. There's a shuttle to the airport and the Mall of America. If you'd like more information or if you'd like to book a room, please contact our office. You can also stay either before or after in order to take advantage of this special offer. All right, so there are two terminals at the Minneapolis airport. Iceland Air departs from Terminal 2, which is Humphrey. If you have a domestic flight arriving into Terminal 1, there is a free transportation system that goes between the two terminal buildings. All Iceland Air flights will route through the Keflavik Airport in Iceland. You will have to switch planes in Iceland, but the layover time is much shorter. You really only need about 30 to 45 minutes to go from gate to gate. You will need to go through passport control before heading to the gate for your next leg to Scandinavia. And now, instead of a stamp, they'll take your photo and fingerprints. And once that's done, you're free to continue on to Norway without any further immigration checks. So this is the new EES system that they have started. So it really doesn't, it shouldn't take that much longer to do that than it did going through the old passport control. Again, it's just a photo, you put your fingerprints, and you're on your way. So, but the bad thing is, if you're like me, I like collecting stamps on my passport, but now you don't get a stamp. You will not need to collect your luggage in Reykjavik. If it has been checked through to your final destination. Now, what to expect on board with Iceland Air? You will have free in-flight entertainment. Headphones are for sale, or you can bring your own. You will receive complimentary water, soft drinks, tea, and coffee in economy class. There is a selection of food for sale, or you can bring your own. So there are no complimentary meals and snacks in economy class. Those are only offered if you have upgraded to Saga class. So for those of you that requested window or aisle seats on your tour applications, we will request the best seats available for our tour participants based on their request. And although we can't guarantee that the airline will not change or cancel the seats after the request has been made. So if we are not able to assign the seats at the time of booking, you will be assigned a seat when checking into the flight. Now, during your flight, if you arrive in the morning, which most of the flights will, try to sleep on the plane. An eye mask, earplugs, and a travel pillow or blanket help make this much easier. You'll want to pack a few essentials in your carry-on, like a toothbrush and maybe some basic toiletries. Non-liquid items are the easiest, so you can freshen up a bit before landing. You'll want to wear loose, comfortable clothing and supportive shoes. Your feet may swell during long flights, so it's best to keep shoes on or wear ones that are easy to slip on and off. And when possible, get up and walk around the cabin to stretch and keep your circulation moving. You'll want to also stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, and try to limit alcohol and caffeine, as both can contribute to dehydration and disrupt sleep. And if you wear contact lenses, consider switching to glasses during the flight. Cabin air can be very drying. If you're prone to motion sickness, ginger products like ginger ale or ginger chews can help settle your stomach. Now, once you arrive in Scandinavia, try to spend time outdoors in the natural daylight. This is one of the most effective ways to help your body adjust to the new time zone. You'll want to try to stay awake until the local evening. Even if you're tired, it does help reset your internal clock much more quickly. Now, airport transfers in Scandinavia are included for passengers arriving and departing on the designated group flights. After deplaning, you'll collect your luggage and you'll proceed out to the arrival hall. You'll also go through customs. You'll see two exits: green if you have nothing to declare, and red if you have something to declare. You'll choose the appropriate exit. And then once you're in the arrival hall, that is where you will meet your tour director, and they will be standing there holding a lovely Brekke sign. So if you're arriving on a different flight than our group, you can choose from several modes of transportation from the airport to the hotel. Airport buses with frequent departures run from airport to city center and vice versa in each of the Scandinavian capitals. Trains and taxis may also be available from the airport to the city center. It may be necessary to take a taxi from the central station to the hotel. So this is something that you may want to check on ahead of time and be prepared. You can meet your group at the hotel that night for dinner, and dinner time is actually listed in your departure letter, which will arrive in your documents packet. So one of the first things you may notice is that your hotel rooms are often smaller than what we have here in the US. And some hotels, especially if they're historic, may not have air conditioning. Now, all the hotels used in our itineraries will have a private bathroom with a shower, sometimes a tub, toilet, and sink. And many hotels use key cards to control electricity in the room. You'll typically insert your card into a slot near the entrance to activate the lights and power. This is really just a common energy saving practice that you'll find all through Scandinavia. In larger cities, some of the hotels may offer guest laundry services or facilities. This may be an additional cost, so you want to check with the front desk to get all the details. Now, Scandinavia is increasingly cashless, so it's a good idea to have a credit card readily available for any hotel purchases. So if you want, a drink or a bottle of water or something like that, you'll want to have a credit card on hand. Most hotels do offer Wi-Fi in the rooms, and many also have public areas or business centers with internet access. Before heading out on your own, you might want to consider grabbing a business card or a map from the front desk. If you happen to get turned around, it makes it easier to show someone where you're staying. And in your room, you'll typically find a hairdryer and basic toiletries such as shampoo and shower gel. Irons or steamers may be available, though sometimes those are on upon request rather than in every room. All right. So, most days on tour, you can expect to depart the hotel between 7:30 and 9 a.m., depending on the day's schedule. A breakfast buffet is included each morning, so you'll want to have time to enjoy that before you depart. Your tour director will review the next day's timing each evening. And you can typically expect to arrive at your hotel around 6 p.m., sometimes earlier. On travel days, we include regular stops for restrooms, photos, and sightseeing along the way. Now, our tours are designed to be comfortable and manageable, but they do involve daily walking. You can expect short distances, sometimes over uneven surfaces, such as cobblestones, hills, or gravel paths. You should feel comfortable getting on and off the motor coach independently, navigating steps and occasional stairs, and managing in buildings where elevators may be limited or unavailable. A few important notes. Participation in the activities is always optional, so you're more than welcome to, opt out if you feel that the distance may be too far, that sort of thing. If you do require assistance with mobility, we recommend traveling with a companion who can help assist throughout the tour. And then motorized scooters are not suitable for escorted tours due to terrain, space limitations, and accessibility issues. Excuse me for just a second. I got a little choked up there. Um, all right, so on to tipping. I know that's a lot of you had asked questions about that. Scandinavia has higher wages built into pricing, so tipping is less of a cultural expectation, but when in doubt, rounding up is always appreciated. So restaurants, 5 to 10% is appreciated if the service charge isn't already included. And if you're not sure, you can ask your server. For hotels and taxis, this is not expected, but again, you can round up if you receive good service. Now, gratuities for the tour director, guide, and driver are left at the discretion of tour members, and therefore they're not included in the tour cost. Tipping in the local currency is preferred for the local guides and the bus drivers. However, if your tour director is based in the US, tips would be appreciated in US dollars rather than local currency. Especially if you've been satisfied with their service, we suggest the following amounts as appropriate. So for the local city guides and bus drivers, around $5 per person per tour or per day. And again, those are preferred in the local currency. And then for the tour director, around $10 per person per day, US dollars or local currency, depending on where your tour director resides. And that information can be found on your Meet Your Tour Director letter and your travel documents packet. And additional information on tipping can be found on page 4 of our travel tips booklet. So you should have received those, but if you didn't, that's available online on our website. So, and you can read that just anytime. And while we do everything that we can to ensure a smooth trip, occasionally hiccups do happen. But the good news is you're not on your own. And here's how to handle things if something comes up. First off, start with your tour director. That's your best resource while on tour. Whether it's lost luggage, a medical concern, or a simple question, they're there to help and guide you to the right solution. Now, if you're on your own, or if you haven't met up with your group yet, go directly to the source. So, whether it's the airline staff, the hotel front desk, or the car rental agency. If you need directions or assistance, don't hesitate to ask the locals. Most Scandinavians speak excellent English and are happy to help. Now, for urgent situations, be familiar with how to place a call internationally. Know the local emergency numbers. And this is information is included in your final travel documents, so you might want to bring that page with you. Now, if your passport is lost or stolen, the first thing to do would be contact your tour director right away. Otherwise, locate the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate to begin the replacement process. And one final thought, travel doesn't always go perfectly, and that's okay. Sometimes it's those kind of things that make the best stories. So stay flexible, keep a sense of humor, and don't let a small hiccup take away from what will be an incredible experience. And then I have just a few other random tips that didn't really fit in with anything else, so I'll just go over these, and they're in no particular order. So the first one is watch your step. So door thresholds are often raised in Scandinavia, and bathtubs can be higher than what you're used to here in the US. So it's just something to be mindful of. If you're out enjoying a nice meal at a restaurant, your server typically won't bring the bill unless you ask. So when you're ready, just say, "May we have the check, please?" Money and payments. Now, Scandinavia is, again, largely cashless. So credit cards are widely accepted. So thus, it's a good idea to contact your bank or credit card company before traveling. I can't stress that enough. Do it before you leave. So if you are traveling with some liquids, I would place those in some Ziploc bags, resealable plastic bags, that sort of thing, to prevent leaks. You may also want to bring a small amount of laundry soap for hand washing items. Sometimes it's really hard to find laundromats, and it's far more economical to hand wash items rather than having the hotels launder them for you. Also, pack a couple of days in advance so you don't forget anything, and then bring a few snacks for travel days, like granola bars, trail mix, things like that. A few other things to know, tap water is excellent, so you're not going to have any problems drinking the water in Scandinavia. Again, English is widely spoken, so getting around is pretty easy. And summer days are very long, so you may want to bring an eye mask if you're sensitive to light when sleeping. And finally, just leave a little extra space in your suitcase. You'll probably want it for souvenirs on the way home. All right, and we had a few questions that were submitted on the registration form that I wanted to just quickly answer. Some of you may have the same questions now. So there is free time built into all of our tours. So this is a great opportunity to explore on your own or just simply relax. Your tour director or a local city guide, these are great resources for recommendations, whether it's a museum, a scenic walk, or a great place to eat. Now, if you indicated any dietary restrictions or preferences on a registration form, that information has been shared with the hotels and restaurants in advance. We do ask that you please introduce yourself to your tour director at the start of your tour so that they can reconfirm those details along the way. And we had somebody ask about vaccines. There are no special vaccines needed for travel to Scandinavia, but it is just a good idea to be up to date on routine vaccinations, but there's nothing additional that you need. Now, if you're traveling with prescription medications, you'll want to pack those in your carry-on first and foremost, and then you may also want to bring a few extra just in case you're delayed somewhere along the way. And finally, it's a good idea to bring a copy of your prescription in case you need to make an unexpected refill. And we had quite a few people ask about their CPAP machines. So if you use a CPAP machine, you are welcome to bring it with you on your flight. It is considered a medical device and does not count toward your carry-on allowance. If you plan to bring your CPAP machine, please let us know in advance so that we can provide the airline with the make, model, and weight. Please send that information 2 to 3 weeks prior to departure. And at your destination, hotel rooms will have electrical outlets available. You may just need a plug adapter for the Scandinavian outlets. Now, if your CPAP requires distilled water, you may want to bring some small amounts. That can be brought in your carry-on, but has to be the 3.4 ounces or less. Many travelers have used regular bottled water or just tap water. The Really a 2 week tour, you can use that with really out too many issues. In most cases, bottled water is not going to damage the humidifier or CPAP for a short period of time. All right, and now you know. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any of those questions that you may have. So again, you can type those into the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And then I'm going to pop this over to our contact information. So for any of you that are traveling with CPAP machines, that email address right there, the tour at brekketours.com, we'll need the make, model, and weight. Is Discover card accepted in Norway? That's a good question. Visa and MasterCard are probably the two most prominent ones. I would I would want to check on that. So I am not for sure about Discover. How is the wind in Norway similar to North Dakota wind? It really just depends on where you are. Of course, if you are near the water, it will be more windy and also cooler. Um, so um, So I always bring a jacket, even summer months, that sort of thing. Having a jacket is just a good idea, I think. But in the forest, that sort of thing, not as windy, but it can be windy. Does Apple Pay work in Norway? I have used Apple Pay in Norway before, so if that's something that you use, I have used it as well, so it seems to work okay. But again, I would just have a physical credit card with me just in case. So must prescriptions be in pharmacy labeled bottles? They don't have to be, um, but I would bring a copy of your prescription or just take a picture of your prescription bottle just in case you need something along the way. If you accidentally knock your pills into the toilet, something happens like that that's terrible. That way you just have a way to get that prescription refilled. Does one need an expedited TSA check and approval? I am, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Does one need an expedited TSA check and approval? If you could please clarify that question, I'm not sure what you mean. Okay, we had a couple more people ask about Apple Pay. Again, I would recommend having a credit card on hand just as a backup. So do they provide bath towels in hotels? Yes. Pool towels? I'm not sure. I think it will depend on the hotel. So if you do have questions about that, if they have poolside towels, I would ask the front desk and see what they recommend. Mm. Jeff, you had asked about choosing seats on Delta. Um, that is something I will check with our airfare department and we will let you know on that since we don't have too many tours that are flying on Delta this summer, so I want to be sure and get you the right information. So, are we going on a glacier tour? If so, any clothing suggestions? So, some of our tours do stop by Brickstone Glacier on the way. You actually won't get on the glacier. You need, special permission and things like that to walk on the glacier. But you will get up close to it. You can feel the water coming off the glacier, that sort of thing. It's very cold. Um, But as far as like needing special clothing, not necessarily for that, since you won't actually be walking on the glacier. Now, if you are doing something independently, where you are going to be hiking on the glacier, then yes, definitely I would recommend taking warmer clothing. But just on our general tours, no. Okay. If we have some cash to exchange it there, how much cash do you recommend having on hand? Oh, that's a really good question, and it really kind of depends on how much you are planning to spend. Um, honestly, I because most of the time I do use credit cards. Really, the kroner that you will use mostly might be for very small purchases and or tips. So depending on how you plan to spend, that might influence how much money you want to get out. But you can always start out with like, maybe one or $200 just to have on hand, for the week or 10 days or 14 days, whatever you're spending in Norway. And if you need more, chances are you will be able to find another ATM along the way. Okay, with the current airline fuel issues, what does Brekke Tours do in the event of a canceled or delayed flight? So that would be something that the airlines would have to work out. So if for some reason your flight is canceled or delayed, which we have had happen before in the past, the airlines have always accommodated those passengers, like just like it would be if you were traveling on your own, that they would, rebook you on the next available flight. So um, but if a whole flight was canceled, that would be up to the airlines to rebook. So, okay. Okay. Somebody had asked about a little bit of extra luggage. So Laurel, we will reach out to you to answer that particular question directly. So, yes, so this information is actually available online. So if you go to our website, under the travel resources, you'll find on the menu where it says like escorted tours, independent travel packages, that sort of thing. There's a travel resources, and under that, there is a travel tips. And all of this information that I pretty much just read to you guys came directly from that. So if for some reason you didn't get the travel tips document in your registration packet, or if it's been misplaced, which I know that happens, all of that information can be found online. So, um, is the value of the U.S. Dollar declining in value? Could this impact the tour? It will not impact your tour as far as like our rates go. So especially if you have paid in full, so that's been handled. And as far as like the declining value, we have noticed that the dollar has decreased in value, but it hasn't changed too terribly much. So, um, will we need hiking boots or tennis shoes? Good. I have found that most of the time tennis shoes are just fine. If you do plan to do some hiking while you're there during your free time, you may want to bring some hiking boots. Those are really good, especially in the mountains. If you have an overnight in Flum or Vos or someplace out in the country, it can be a little wet. So hiking, with hiking boots is usually preferable, just so you're not walking around with wet shoes the next day. What credit cards are accepted? I would say Visa and MasterCard are your best bets. American Express, a little bit less so, but also pretty widely accepted. Visa, MasterCard, pretty much everywhere. So those would be the two that I would recommend. The Park and Fly is in Minneapolis. That is correct. So it's the DoubleTree by Hilton out at the Minneapolis airport. Are debit cards acceptable? What is the actual flying time? Okay. So Curtis and Sharon will reach out to you with the information on the flying times. So I don't have those right in front of me. Debit cards, I've honestly not used debit cards in Scandinavia, but they do a lot of times work like credit cards now, so I would think that that would be fine. It's just I would call and check with your bank maybe before you go, but yeah, so you should not have a problem because most of the time they're Visa or MasterCard kind of related anyway. So, okay, so Carol, you had asked about selecting seats on SAS. That's something that I will have to check with our air department. And again, Curtis and Sharon, I will have to ask. I will check on the Delta departing from Terminal 1 or 2. I don't know. So a lot of you guys had asked about the Delta flights. I know we have a couple of tours that are flying on Delta. So those kind of questions I will have to answer offline because I don't have that information in front of me. So, okay, so average temperatures for Scandinavia, I would say between the 50s and 70s. Again, I would highly recommend checking the weather before you leave just to kind of get an idea because it has been unseasonably warm the last couple of summers. And so you might be able to get away with some warmer weather clothing. So, and if you would like to keep cash on hand for tipping, that would be more for your local city guide, your bus drivers, and that sort of thing. And that's totally fine. So, should one have TSA pre-check in place? So if you are flying on a domestic flight, that might help, and it will help get you through security in Minneapolis. As far as flights in Norway returning home, it's not going to help at all. So that would really the pre-check will only help you on the outgoing flight from Minneapolis. How do we exchange kroner back to the US dollars if we don't spend it all? The best way would probably be to find an exchange desk at an airport to do that. Or if your local bank might be able to do that, that would be something that you could ask them. Um, I don't believe Iceland Air honors Delta points. So, um, at this time, we don't anticipate any upcharge because of additional fuel cost. Usually Iceland Air and the other airlines that we have contracts with will let us know ahead of time, but we've not been notified of that at this point. Yes. So, will we know ahead of time if our tour guide is local or not? So, your tour director, you will receive a meet your tour director letter in your tour documents packet, and it will say on that letter, where they're based. So, either Norway or the U.S. If you are delayed, how will we meet up with the tour? So, the best thing would be, if you're delayed, you would meet your tour. At the welcome dinner at the hotel, or we would try and get in touch to let you know where to meet your tour director or the tour group. If it's going to be later than that, that would just be something that we'd have to handle on a case by case basis, depending on what the situation is. When we hear if someone gets a roommate or not, that would be information coming from our front office, and um, I am not entirely sure when that would be sent out. I guess if one becomes available, that would be when we try to put you two in a contact with each other. Carry-on bags and also totes and backpacks. Yes, these would be one and the same. So, bringing either a tote bag or a backpack, that would be your carry-on bag. Okay, I'm sorry about the prescription. So if you have prescription medication, I've always carried mine in a pill caddy, and I've never had any issues. Because if I had to carry all my pills in the prescription bottle, it would need its own suitcase. So I carry mine in a pill caddy, but I do take pictures of my prescription, and so Knock on wood, I've never needed it, but that way, in case you do need it, you have the pharmacy's contact information, the name of the drug, the prescribing doctor, that sort of thing. So take a picture maybe of the prescription bottle and or try to get a separate prescription from your doctor. I know a lot of times nowadays it's just all electronic. So depending on if your doctor is old fashioned or everything is electronic, that may be a little bit more difficult. But taking a picture of the prescription pill bottle is a great way to go. What's a good weather app to check the weather? I use the one on my Apple phone. It's just the weather app that's on there. But also WeatherBug is a good one, and that's just Weather Bug, BUG. And then you can put in the different locations that you'll be traveling to, and so those are good options. I don't know what the equivalent is for an Android phone, but on your Apple phone, you just have the weather app. Um, when will our travel insurance be purchased? If you have requested the travel insurance be added to your invoice, it should be purchased when you make that payment. So, if you have any questions about travel insurance, I would recommend reaching out to our office and we can get those answered for you. What to expect for room arrangements for a party of three? Depending on what you request, typically those are three separate beds. So you'll have two twin beds and either like a sofa couch or a rollaway bed. Um, so if you have questions about that, please let us know and we can try and get those answered for you. Is Norway 7 hours behind or ahead? It is ahead. So right now it's late evening their time. Is travel insurance required or optional? It is definitely optional, but it is something that we recommend. Taking a trip such as this, it's a large investment for a lot of people, and so it's just a nice way to have a little bit of extra peace of mind in case something does happen. Do you have to book the low and sky lift ahead of time? Um, I don't believe you do. I know people have just purchased that the day of. During busy summer months, it might not be a bad idea to book that ahead of time. So that's something that we can check into that for you and let you know, Deanne. So, oh, so Heidi has mentioned try yr.no for the local weather. So thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that. So, and we'll check on that Lowen Skylift. For those of you that might be going to Lowen, we can check that out and let you know if that's something that you should pre-book or if it's something that can be done just as a walk-up kind of thing. So, and we'll let you know that. And again, I know some of you had questions specific to your tour or to Delta Airlines. I have yeah, can't get my thought out. I will have a copy of all the questions submitted, and so we will reach out to you on a case by case basis. So, um, let's see. Oop. Okay, so we had somebody ask about recommendations when you have an afternoon free. So local city guides and your tour director would be the best option. You can also do maybe a little bit of research ahead of time as well. I know in Oslo, if you are, an art fan, there's some really good museums there. The Munch Museum, obviously, of course, but also walking through the Parliament building is a great way to see some really historic Norwegian art. So things like that, depending on what your area of interest is. But if you have questions, I mean, we can try and kind of point you in the right direction ahead of time as well, since all of us in the office have been to many of these different places on our tour, so we can make recommendations. If not, I would say your tour director or the local city guide, the very best options. They can provide those. Do we need to check anything with our health insurance carrier before departure? That would not necessarily be a bad idea, just in case you have any questions, things like that. Um, Definitely not a bad idea to do that. And yes, so the whole presentation has been recorded. Everybody will get a copy of this video. If you want just a copy of the presentation itself, the PowerPoint presentation, I am more than happy to send that as well. Um, just just please email us and say I would like just a separate copy of the presentation. Not a problem. So, okay, so a couple of questions about the local city guides. So the local city guides are usually only there for maybe 2 to 3 hours. So they will step onto the bus, or it might be a walking tour depending on where you are located. Um, uh, Typically, we will have city guides in our major cities. So Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, and Stavanger in Norway. And then if you are on our Captivating Scandinavia tour, you'll also have a local guide in Stockholm. And then you have just kind of a short sightseeing tour in Copenhagen. So those would be where you would have your local guides, is in those major cities. And again, they're only there for just a couple of hours to provide detailed information about the city that you're in. So depending on, I would take a look at your itinerary, wherever it says that you have, a city sightseeing, and it lists that right on if you look on our itinerary, it'll say city sightseeing in, Oslo and Bergen. And that way you kind of have an idea of how many city guides you can expect on your tour. Oh, okay. Let's see. How many people are on tour on average? It really just depends on the tour. Our more popular tours like Splendor of Norway, Best of Norway, Spectacular Norway, we can have anywhere from 35, 40 people. We only take one bus, so no worries about having multiple buses. On some of our more specialized tours or our small group tours, it might be 20 or 24 or even less. So it really just depends on the tour. Is there a bathroom on the bus? So if you are traveling on one of our more popular tours, chances are that you will be on our larger buses, and there is a bathroom on board. That being said, if you've never ridden a mechanical bull, here is your opportunity. So it is definitely there and can be used. But we do take frequent restroom breaks, which are usually a little bit more comfortable. So just take that into consideration. If you do need to use the restroom on board the bus, it might be a little wild. All right. Hopefully, I've answered most of your questions. Again, if you do think of something later, I always think of questions, about 5 minutes after. Please feel free to email us, call us, that sort of thing. Again, for those of you that had questions either on the registration form or on the chat that we didn't answer, we'll reach out to you individually. Um, oh, what is the longest time on the bus? I would say probably 2 hours is kind of the max that we would spend on the bus at any one point. So we tend to take bathroom breaks at least once every couple of hours. There are winding roads. It is very Norway does not do straight roads, unfortunately. If you do get car sick or motion sick, it definitely helps to have maybe something um, to take with you. I like the little bands that you can put on your wrist that kind of do the pressure point. Um, there are other lots of options out there. So if you've used something in the past to help with motion sickness, I would definitely bring that, especially if you know that you suffer from that. Um, Winding roads are definitely a thing in Norway, and all of Scandinavia for that matter. So it's just best to be prepared and think about that kind of stuff ahead of time and bring whatever it is that makes you most comfortable, whether it's, wristbands or medication, what have you. So, um, oh, do we have lunch every day? So some places, we do have lunch included on our tours. Sometimes it's a local restaurant, things like that. A lot of times lunches are left on your own, but most of the time people don't eat lunch that often because they eat a good breakfast and then we have a big dinner. Um, a lot of times we do make stops, at shops that have maybe a coffee shop or a little cafe, that sort of thing, where you can grab something to eat. Again, snacks are a great way to kind of tide you over from breakfast to dinner time. But we do make stops for places where you can grab lunch. So we're not just going to force you to go all day without lunch. But if lunch is not included, we will make stops en route. Okay, little shops or grocery store for lunch, would it be best to ask your tour director? So, what I like to do when I get to Scandinavia is go check out a local grocery store. It's fun. I enjoy checking out different flavors of things. And you can pick up little snacks, you can pick up drinks, that sort of thing to take with you. Um, so yeah, so there are lots of little local specialties that you can get. Of course, hot dogs are really famous in Norway, things like that. Same thing with Iceland. Hot dogs are a big thing in Iceland. So if you do want to make time to do that, when you get to Norway, when you first arrive, or to Scandinavia, it's always a great idea. Just go find a local little grocery store and do a little shopping for your trip. But again, we do make stops along the way where you can grab lunch. Is it very expensive to eat out? So, and then we had some questions about dietary needs. So. Um, Dietary needs are really easily pretty met in Scandinavia, especially restaurants and hotels know ahead of time. For the breakfast, a lot of it is buffet. Some dinners will be buffet as well, so you'll have lots of different options to choose from. But for lunches, if there's not a lot of times your tour director will know ahead of time where they will be stopping and can make suggestions for you, especially if you have something that needs to be taken into consideration, your celiac, things like that. So again, I would make sure that you let your tour director know when you first meet him or her that, my name is blah and I have these dietary restrictions, just to kind of reinforce. They do have that information ahead of time, but it's always a good idea. And then that way they can also plan accordingly for those lunch stops to make sure that you have something. Again, it's also a good idea to bring some snacks along. So if you have snacks that you prefer, as with that meet your dietary needs, I would bring a few of those along as well. So, do they have refrigerators in the room? Not usually. So, refrigerators are not typically found in rooms in Scandinavia. So, is it very expensive to eat out? Okay. So, if you are having dinner in Scandinavia, it can be expensive, especially if you're at a nice sit down restaurant, cloth napkins, that sort of thing. If you are just doing a quick cafe type thing, grabbing an open face sandwich, something like that, not very expensive, maybe, $10 or something like that. So it really just kind of depends on what your eating habits are. It can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. I hope that makes sense. Oh, are there any must-try foods in Norway? Fish. Um, there's lots of different types of fish in Norway, lots of different ways. If you're in Bergen, Definitely recommend taking a stroll through the fish market. They have lots of different things there that you can try. I've tried smoked whale. That was interesting. Um, king crab, that's kind of always a fun thing. The cheeses, yes, cheeses are always good, especially in Norway. If you are staying at the Kviknes Hotel, which is in Balestrand, give a try of the stinky cheese. So something a little different, something you will never forget. So yes, so you can purchase snacks in advance. I always take some in my bag with me. I put some in my check bag, and so that and then I use that space for souvenirs on the way home. So I definitely recommend. I'm a firm believer in snacks and refillable water bottles. And then another good place to get snacks is duty free when you come through the airport. So if you have time. Um, my husband and I often split meals so not to waste. Again, a lot of the meals that you'll find are buffet style, so that really shouldn't be an issue. If you do have questions, if you're eating out, that would be something to be more conscious of. But a lot of times, like my husband and I, we if we're traveling together in Norway, um, if we get like a sandwich or something like that, we'll split it, and it's never been a deal. So, um, can nuts be brought into Norway as a snack? I have brought nuts, but as long as they are in a sealed, container. So, yes, strawberries. Strawberries are amazing. So if you get a chance, sample some strawberries. So, okay. So we have somebody that does not eat fish. I don't eat fish that much either. I've never had a problem not getting or getting something else in Norway. So as long as you put that on your registration form, um, there's usually an alternative for those that don't eat fish, so I would not worry about that, Laurel. But yes, so you had asked about letting the tour director know. Always a good idea just to kind of touch base with the tour director when you meet up, just so they can make sure that information has been noted, and they can check with the hotels and restaurants locally to make sure that those accommodations are met. All right. We have a few more minutes for questions, unless we've answered everything. But again, if you do think of something later on, please give us a call or email us. We'll be happy to either find the answer or provide you with an answer. So we do have somebody typing a question, so I don't. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So if you forgot to mention, fruit aversions, the dietary request, or something like that on your registration form, it's never too late to send those to us. So please send those to us just as soon as you can, and we'll get that noted on your record. Not a problem. So you can take refillable water bottles through security as long as they are empty. So just be sure there's nothing liquid in them. I usually just pack mine, either in my backpack or in my actual check luggage. So, um, oh, is ice available or a way to freeze an ice pack? Ice is not as available as it is here in the US. So if you do request ice, you might be able to get that from the front desk at the hotel. Um, as far as like freezing an ice pack, that might be really hard to do during tour. So, but you may be able to request ice from the front desk at the hotel. I Norway and Scandinavia are very much like Europe in that they don't do ice as much as we do here in the U.S. So it's just a cultural type thing. We love our ice here in the U.S. It's not such a big thing overseas, so it might be a little bit harder to find. I'm sorry. Yep. So everybody should receive a copy of this of this recording. Again, I'll send that out either later today or tomorrow, first thing. So if you do have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to us. If you want just a copy of the presentation, we can get that for you as well. But if you do have any other questions that you think of later, please feel free, again, to reach out to us, and our contact information is here on the screen. We do hope you enjoy your trip to Scandinavia this summer. I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap it up now. So, um, again, we will be hosting another one of these later. If you have more questions that you think of later, in preparation for some of our later tours this summer. But again, we hope you enjoy your trip, and we look forward to sharing our love of Scandinavia with you. Thank you all again, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.